up a few thousand degrees with a Lava Hot podcast and host Joseph Connell Jr. You'll hear from ordinary people who are doing extraordinary things, from tech startup CEOs and marketing professionals to authors, investors, and sales trainers. This show will be packed with information to help you level up in life or business, taking you from on fire up to lava hot. Get ready to burn this down.
Hello and welcome to the Lava Hot Podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Connell. Today I have with me all the way from New Zealand, Noy Shani. He is the Freedom... I knew I was going to mess that up. I told myself repeatedly I was going to mess that up. Consistency coach at Freedom Lifestyle Creation. Okay. Hello and welcome to the Lava Hot Podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Connell. Today I have with me, coming all the way from New Zealand, Noy Shani. Noy is an individual that I was able to link up with on social media through Facebook. Actually, it was a connection through my wife. I think she stumbled across some of your content, and by default, we've kind of linked up together. But before we get into it, I want to just give a little bit of background about Noy. He is the consistency coach at Freedom Lifestyle Creation. He's a journalist / sports marketer turned hypnotherapist, coach, and speaker. He also has a history of being able to coach individuals on breakthroughs, whether on an individual basis or in group settings. And I'm genuinely excited to have him here. There's a certain aspect of something that Noy does that I've had a genuine interest in. And with that, Noy, I appreciate you joining the show, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Joseph.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I know that we've been communicating a little bit back and forth over the last month or so. And, I'm curious what the time difference is for you and I. I think you're a full day ahead of me, if I remember correctly, right?
Just about right. Yeah, it's actually morning on, the following day. So I'm from the future. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
you joined us.
You might be wondering why I'm wearing this, because here is the winter and it's about 8 Celsius, which is like 46 Fahrenheit. So it's a bit,
oh, wow.
It's not the coolest. It's been -4 here a couple of weeks ago. So
yep, absolutely.
It's rising, but yeah.
Yep.
Still a bit chilly.
So as we go into this, so I want to start kind of at the beginning where you were the journalist, sports marketer. I want to understand, where did this passion for helping individuals come from? What got you into the hypnotherapist side, the coaching, speaking? But I want to take it back to the beginning. You started as a journalist and a sports marketer. I want to kind of learn about that and how this evolved.
Yeah, thank you. That's always a story that I like to share with people. So I'm originally from Israel.
Mm-hmm.
So I've lived in the UK for about 13 years. I'm now living in New Zealand. My wife is from here. So we've been here for about 2.5 years. But where it all started, so in my hometown, so football, as in what you guys call soccer, being like, the most popular sports. And I grew up not far from the local stadium, which was like inside the city. And nowadays it's less common to build stadiums like inside the city like that. That new ones are not built like that, but it was basically like part of the community. So I grew up supporting my hometown football team, as most teenage boys, at my age would do. And started going to games and that. And when I was in high school, I also had some kind of interest in IT at the same time. That's even before journalism. I had some interest in IT from a period that when I was 9, I got my first Pentium 1 computer. Like I remember, like it's December 1996. It was one of those Packard Bell all in one piece. It was like a spaceship in compared to what I had before. I tell you, man, it, and I was hooked. So I was from the very start kind of like geeking with everything, and as a result I got myself into programming and databases and that kind of stuff. And when I met 2 guys when I was in high school, they had this website that they wanted to kind of like some extra helping hand with. So I basically joined them, not a paid thing even. It was for the football fan team.
Right.
You know, joined them, I linked arm with them, and after some time, they ended up leaving. Like, so I was kind of left with that website. But during that time, I pretty much did everything. I was doing articles, I was doing some coding, I was doing a lot of stuff, and I kind of like modeled a lot of like sports papers, like, you know, local daily local papers and stuff like that, how they're writing, and you know, the sort of style and stuff like that, and develop my own. And this is how I got into writing. So you can say self-made. And where it rolled, like through the years, without like boring your audience with the whole story, like it's like when I was in the UK, I still continued working on that website. In fact, I actually had that website for about 12 years. It was Israel's first ever fan football website. I'm talking about age before smartphones. So we sold SMS subscriptions, and you know, before you had smartphones, you had all these like MMS style things or ringtones and stuff that used to be really popular.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you remember. I'm talking. It sounds like a different world now, like, because all of it was before, pretty much before smartphones. Because I'm talking 2001 to 2013. So smartphones just came at around 2011, 2012-ish kind of thing, right? To, you know, what they are virtual now.
Yeah.
So I had that website, and I had a team of 14 people, all pretty much volunteers. It was semi-commercial in the sense of we sold some content to other websites and stuff like that. We funded trips to cover a few matches abroad in Europe, which was great fun. And then because it wasn't fully fledged commercial, people, you know, went their own way and stuff like that, right? So I got myself certified officially when I decided to leave, because at the start of that decade, last decade, I was in IT in the UK while I still had that website. And then when I decided to leave IT, because I always found that it was kind of like, it gets the worst out of me. Like I get angry. If I'm coding and stuff and it doesn't work out, I get properly angry, like computer rage.
For sure.
So I decided to leave it, like, as kind of like didn't enjoy it anymore. And that's also when I discovered self-development at the same time. So it's kind of like an intertwined journey, maybe not following like the typical route of, you know, moving from this to that, up a ladder. I went back and certified myself as a journalist officially in the UK. I worked for a few publications, wrote mainly feature articles, you know, kind of long form, mainly to do with sports, a bit news and stuff, but sports always been my thing. Mainly football, as in soccer and rugby and cricket, which I know, and I did a bit of NFL and stuff like that as well. All sort of, you know, nice healthy combination. And and I was working 3 years for a sport betting company. So, you know, like in the UK, I don't know if you are aware, it's kind of like a free for all. Betting is really popular, obviously, and you have betting shops and you have betting operators. So I was working for a niche one that is only online. And it was more like a financial product, like spreads. So the number of goals, or let's take maybe something your crowd will be more connected. Say the total score in an NBA match. I don't know, Phoenix Suns against Philadelphia 76ers. You know, if the score would be 80-70, so there could be a spread of the final score, the total like score, like combined, the points combined, 130 to 150. So you basically either sell if it's less or buy if you believe that it will be more, higher. So it's a very interesting concept. So I was writing the commercial copy for the emails, which basically intends for people to, existing client, to come back and spend money with us, right? Spend money betting with us. And that's how I got more into the commercial side. And then I had a big breakdown at work in the last year, after promotions, after pay rises, all that kind of, you know, 9 yards. There's a big mental health breakdown. And as a result of that lasted for quite a while. It had a big impact on me. And I had to do some soul searching. And at that time, we also knew we are moving to New Zealand. Me and my wife, we decided 2 years in advance. So already at the end of 2017, we knew that November 19 we are out. So we knew we had 24 months, and that happened in between.
Right.
And that happened like literally at the year mark, like the sandwich in between. So as a result, and with the experience I had, I got myself into internet marketing. So I kind of like combined the writing content with a commercial flair, if you like.
Mm-hmm.
And I went into the internet marketing, make money online, affiliate marketing industry. I did pretty well during the pandemic in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
I did pretty well. And then a series of listening to the wrong people after that and putting money in the wrong places, I had another big breakdown literally around this time last year. So it hasn't been even that long.
Sure.
So and at that point, I said to myself, okay, this is too much for me. 2 big breakdowns, like different ones, but in 3 years, that's like too much. I have to do something. Like,
Yeah.
I kind of like hit rock bottom. I'm sure your listeners would resonate. You hit it once, you rise,
I
and
think
then you hit it again, and then
yeah.
it's hard the second time.
Yeah, and
Like,
especially over the last couple of years with the ebbs and flows of 2 to 2.5 year long pandemic that was on the rise. So you're absolutely right. Yeah, I think combination of individuals, business owners, all of it probably been going through their own level of it. But absolutely, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I'll let you.
No, it's great. No, absolutely, because I know a lot of people will be in that position that they had breakdown and maybe then saw some success and then would have another breakdown, and then it's like a slap in the face, and then you ask yourself, then what? Now what? So I had a close friend that only recently we met online. Like offline. I mean to say, we knew online for like about 2 years, and I've seen her journey, and it may sound funny, but she's got this golden retriever, which I admired her for the sort of life that she lives, that it looks like she's free and, happy and, kind of happy-go-lucky kind of person,
like
and
carefree,
traveling around with the dog. Yeah.
Yep.
And I didn't really know the full gist, the full story, but I knew that she's done something because she was in a similar industry to what I was in. The internet marketing industry, all that kind of stuff. And I didn't even know she was struggling because, but I was kind of like following I was following when I started seeing her post and pictures and outside with the dog and smiling and living like a different life. And I didn't make too much of it until last July when that second breakdown hit me. And then like how some people say where they learn or where they study on or where they work on the social media, on Facebook, they would say, I work in ABC Corporation, blah, 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 like on the profile. So I went directly to her profile and I went to that company that she started with, and as I put me into the course.
Very cool.
Like I want to do what she's doing. Like I don't know what she's doing, but I want some of that.
Yeah.
So, and this is how I got into coaching. I did not have any intention to become a coach. I was a coach previously on a vocational capacity, like you mentioned at the start. Back in the UK, there was an international organization where I did it for, the love of it and the benefit I saw it gives people. And it was travel and all that was actually on me. So I love that. It was great for a period, and then I wanted to progress with my career. So in retrospect, I stopped all self-development work in like November 16, and I had none until like September 2021.
Yeah.
So in hindsight, that's one of my biggest mistakes. And if someone is listening to this or you're listeners to that, I'd say, don't do that. Don't cut it all off, even because I did really well initially when I cut it off, not because I cut it off, but because all the tools I had and all that. But then I no longer had the go-to sort of framework like anymore. I was out of it, and then then the breakdown. I'm pretty confident that if I'd stayed in a framework like that all throughout the time, then stuff would have been different. I'm grateful for how they were.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, I know that they would have been different. You know what I mean? Like if I was in that framework, so I would this probably one of my biggest mistakes, aside from listening to wrong people or putting money in the wrong place. Those are mistakes as well, and we all learn. But to take yourself out of the framework of self-development, like altogether, thinking, I got that, and I can do it, and I can do it by my own. Yes, you can, but then you are losing some of that framework of support and community and people to come back to when you're doing that. So I took on that course, which was an NLP, a Neuro Linguistic Programming certification, and I didn't even know there is a certification at the back of it, because I was so I had my blinkers on solely on getting myself out of the hole that I was in,
right,
so to speak. So and then it discovered me. So coaching discovered me, because the stuff that I've seen there that are possible just connected me back to what I've been doing before. It was connecting all the dots for me.
Yep. Yeah. So when I said that you're certified in something that I'm interested in, it was the NLP side, the Neuro Linguistics Program. For those that don't know what that is specifically, can you explain exactly what that is?
Yeah, in simple terms, Neuro Linguistic Programming is, so we all know that our mind is very powerful. It's so our language determines our daily life. So how we speak to ourselves in our own head, how we speak to other people. So it's just a set of techniques and tools and methods that will allow any individual to get a complete lever on what they want to accomplish and on their goals, and be conscious of that, and develop new habits, develop new skills, consciousness of what's going on around them, and therefore change their behavior and change their results.
Yep. Yeah. So I first got introduced to NLP. I didn't fully explore it, but I heard it through Tony Robbins. I think Jordan Belfort, The Wolf of Wall Street, also talks about it in one of his books. And I've briefly looked into videos, but I kind of, like you just said, how you just explained it is kind of what I gathered from it. But I'm guessing you go through that course, you get certified, I guess, as a practitioner of NLP. Is that how that works? And then you utilize that to be able to help with the coaching side. Is that correct?
Yeah. So just a week before, because I had a 7-week lead before that program was on, because I put myself in it in July last year, and then the program was in September, and I had a 7-week period. In that period, I cut everything that wasn't working. And I was bored. I was freaking bored. My wife saw me once playing not for money. I was playing one of those free casino spin games that just they have all the ads, which is annoying stuff, but I wasn't but I was just I didn't know what to do with myself, because I cut all the stuff. But what aside from that funny couple of days, it gave me a lot of time to reflect. And around a week before the course I picked up something that Bob Proctor had online for free, and then it hit me. And there was one of these guys that was saying about providing value, and then when you provide enough value, then the money would come, as opposed to target the money and then because there was a period that I was solely either about the money or trying to recoup losses or stuff like that, and then it was more about the money, and kind of lost myself in the process, right? And who I am and all that. So it was much like an identity crisis as well as financial crisis and the whole thing, right?
Yep.
And that really resonated with me, because it's that's where I went wrong, went off course with that. So that was just one of those 5-day challenges that they have for free or here and there, and that was really great. And so I came to the course just about open to coaching, just got open to it a week before that. I got myself certified. I did master level. So it comes with a few other techniques. I went through the hypnotherapy training as well, which I absolutely love. They're all intertwined. They all contribute to each other, all those techniques.
Yeah.
So they work in unison. And yeah, I've started working with clients right off the bat, which, you know, I'm really thankful for. And I've had now people I've had around, in a fairly short time, I had 30 plus people from New Zealand, Australia, United States, Canada, the UK, like cultures and nationalities. I've had, you know, people from all over the place, you know, like from Native American to like East European to you know, you name it, like
Sure.
to Caribbean people. So it's very fulfilling, and to be in that position to see people getting those breakthroughs, like and have something that works, not here and there, like works 100% for everyone that, you know, go in it with intention, like, yeah, I want the result.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about that. So, you know, across the board, everybody is, I would imagine they're coming to you looking to maybe establish some sort of breakthrough, whether that's a personal breakthrough, a business breakthrough, financial, maybe fitness. What do you typically see? Like, where are the main areas that people are usually, you know, investing in to try to maybe develop personally? And what are kind of like those steps? And I'm going to transition that into, I would imagine you're doing this virtually in a lot of cases. Is that correct?
In majority of the cases, I do it virtually. Yes. Yeah.
Very cool.
I have a few clients locally here that here and there I'm able to see in person, and I did, and that's a great experience. And in this day and age, you know, with Zoom, it's been the world has been open, you know, so
Yep.
which is great. Yeah.
Yep. So what do you typically see? Like, what are like the vast majority of breakthroughs people are looking to try to go through? Is that you know, the financial end of things, fitness? What are some of the key areas that you're typically finding yourself helping people with?
Good question. Good question, Joseph. So typically it would be around the direction with a career or direction in their business. So I typically work with executives and business owners. So executive could be someone in sales or in like another corporate job, or so it could be a lot of things, right? Like
Sure.
and business owner could be anything from a bigger company to someone who's just starting out, or someone who's working from home. And
Sure.
you know, doing their own thing, whatever that be. So typically it would be around, it's a combination of things, I would say. So it would be limiting beliefs and patterns around clarity and around the capability of either doing something or doing something like, you know, full out, and trusting themselves and trusting the process. And a lot of time it's also, it has to do, and people come to me with something that they could already be successful people. For example, I'll give you an example without a name. I have an accountant here, local here, and she's got a young daughter, and she's full on, like, you know, she's got full on life, like with a partner that's out a lot, like you know, for his job, and taking care of the daughter and taking care of her fitness and her clients, and, you know, balancing family life and that. And there's always been, I'm mentioning her because it's a good example. A lot of people are looking for validation, either from peers or from clients and stuff like that. And there was always some place that, even though she's doing a really good job, and she has, she's got all the reviews and stuff to attest to that. She's had this anxiety. What if this person, you know, leave me, as in a client? What, and also sometimes with a partner, like what if something happens to him when he's like on the, you know, he's doing a fairly dangerous job? Like, what if something happens to him when he's like on the go? Like, and she would just like lose sleep over that and be very anxious, like, of all the thing. What if that auditor comes, because accountant, they have to be audited a lot. What if the auditor comes and I've never messed something up, but what if I do? So it's always been like, what if, like, and that it's like that constant, you know, niggling thing. And you are talking about a person that already delivers, like, right? So, and it's
already
a very common
delivers
thing.
an exceptional amount of value to the
Yeah,
family, to
it
the
already,
clients, to all of it.
yeah, Yeah. So the thing is, there's this misconception that someone has to be feeling completely broken or completely at like the lowest point in order to seek help. I want to encourage people that are watching that to seek to better themselves in every occasion and not wait until when they get to that rock bottom. Because then, yes, it's possible once you got help, like to get out of it, absolutely, and go. There's, there's like from A, which is the good state, to B, which you start seeing some cracks and you start like doubting, and then fall into like to the hole, and which let's call it point C. And a lot of people try to crawl back to B because the previous not as great as A is still better than rock bottom. So they try to crawl the way back to, okay, if I go back to just like how it was like 6 months ago when this and that happened in my business or in my life. But the real transformation is on the other side when you go to D. So it's like the graph is like this. I hope it makes sense.
Yep, it does.
And sometimes it's those small things like by removing, my specialty is removing those and dissolving those negative emotions and limiting decisions that someone would have about themselves or about their ability or about their peace of mind, whatever that is. And by removing that, you become more congruent, like happy person, someone who is from the outset delivering more value for themselves and happy with that, like a more kind of like complete person, let's call it.
Yeah. So when you first start working with somebody and you uncover that they have almost like this like limiting self-talk that they convince themselves of, what does the coaching look like from there? Like, once you start breaking into what you see as one of the problems, I'm kind of curious, like how you start to structure out the training program and the coaching.
Okay, yeah, good question. So typically what I do is I run people through my main program, which is called the Success Alignment Accelerator. It's around 10 to 12 session, give or take. Could finish at 9, could finish at 11. Some people will finish it at 14. So it's around then. It depends. It changes depend on the individual, but it's around that. And it starts. So there are 3 phases, I would say. First is the assessment. So assessing where they're at, there's a similar concept to one of the things that Tony Robbins teaches, since you mentioned it before, because Tony Robbins is, he started back in the day pretty much doing kind of raw NLP interventions and helping people quit smoking and that kind of thing. And he's done some of them in the old school style as well, which is kind of like some of the methods are workable, but like kind of like moved on since, right?
Yep.
So the first part is finding out what sort of level of operation someone is operating from. Like what's the default modus of operandi, if you call it like that, right? Like, and the term for that is what value level in the world they're operating from. Value level is just basically kind of like the evolution of each human being from the clan to self-rule, trying to make it themselves, and going out in the world and then facing the system, and then trying to break away from the system and becoming their own boss or entrepreneur, or their own like becoming their own thing, like on whether it's on their own or with like partners. And then it's the next level, and the levels are not better off or worse off. It's not like one person is better than another.
Right.
Or one level is better, like morally. It's not that.
Just assessing
it's
where
like
they
the
are
evolution.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like the evolution so much. There's no. It's full of like absurdities because one level contradicts the other, because that's life, right? Like, so one, in order to step into this level, you have gotten to kind of like made a certain journey in the previous level and kind of like be through it in your own mind, right? I'll give you an example. To be an awakened person, like for real, real awakened person, it's quite an elusive concept, because like I see a lot of really awakened people like that believe, in meditation and all that. And I am myself, one of those. And I think probably like none of those awakened me will actually come to me if they don't have some level of awakening, like, to, methods out of the ordinary, right? Or like regular strategies. But it's only when you are truly living in that level, only, for example, once you made it in business. Like, and what I mean by that, people like Richard Branson, for example, they can go and afford chanting on top of a mountain because they no longer need to care about the money. Right. Because they've already have this like massive corporation. And now it doesn't mean everyone need to have massive corporations or be a philanthropist like Richard Branson and have an island of their own and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But what that's nice, right? But what you need a certain level of like, I've done that in business, like now I can properly like step into that. So we assess it. That's actually quite a fun assessment, and then we go into someone's most unconscious values in their own mind. We've all known of people that talk a certain talk and do different actions, right? And including our own, like including ourselves. Sometimes we've done that, right? Like that we say something, but then immediately we're thinking, hang on a minute, like, but I don't really want to admit it, but I'm not thinking like that really, right? Like, and we know people that say something like family is important to me, or money is important to me, or this or that is important to me, but then you look at them and you're like, so why is he or she been behaving exactly the opposite for like a decade? And you kind of scratch your head. Right. So it's not because they are bad people. It's because there's a major lack of congruency between the values on the conscious level, what they can see, and the values in their conscious mind. So there's a way that we tap into what's actually inside the box, and then unearth it. And that could give people, this is at the initial stage is still like an insight before we act on. And then we move on to a bit more of the change work and integration. And I only equip people with strategies once we clear the gunk, because what I've noticed is, imagine there's like a pyramid. Yep. Or, stack of all of those that have children would know, like, if I give like an easier example, those play bricks, right? Like that kids like to put like and build a tower or something. Oh, like what Legos. Happened? Yeah, like Lego, or like those wooden ones, like with you know those? Yep. Yeah? So what happened, what most people do is they take typically what they see on the top at the surface level, and they try to apply a strategy to that. Like, maybe I've been on Facebook and LinkedIn, now I'll go on Instagram, or I'll try this morning routine from this person or that book, or let me read this book. And you can get real good success from some of those. I'm not saying not. Some people will get successes from that, and the success it will last a certain time, and then it will fade, and then you'll go back and you will hit the same block that you hit before. Sometimes it will not work at all, or you will not be able to take it off the ground. Why is that? It's because there's something under the surface, like the last brick in that, in the clay brick, the very bottom one is the root cause of everything. Or other people you can think of it, it's like the iceberg. You see the top, but the bottom in the water, you don't see that, right? So it's that hidden thing. And going back to the play bricks, if you pull the one at the top, nothing happens. You just removed one. But if you pull the one at the bottom, the whole thing topples. Yeah. So if we fix it at the root cause level, everything falls down in a good way. Like the whole, like all the patterns, all the way that they manifest them, including physiological stuff. It because a lot of those patterns lead to ill health, and stuff like that. I'm not a doctor, but they've had these researchers that after a certain serious event that was a surprising event and a major event in one's life, 18 to 36 months after, people would develop an ailment or a disease of some sort. 18 to 36 months after. So I'm talking about the surprising one, like the more, like people going through maybe like a divorce or natural health disaster or something like the pandemic hit or something like that. And you think about it like, whoa, the awareness of it is scary, but the other side of it is you can do something about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
So when you address it at the root cause, a lot of times, a lot of physiological symptoms will disappear as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. So I want to ask it because it sounds like a lot of the individuals that you work with through coaching tend to be virtual. So I would imagine from all over the world. If somebody's interested in maybe developing their own breakthrough and they're looking at, having you as their consistency coach, what would be the best way for them to try to communicate with you and try to connect? And is there any like free resources, anything like that you have that kind of get people kind of connected with you to start learning a little bit more about what you offer?
Yeah, absolutely. So the two best way there's a couple of ways. So people can reach out to me on my Facebook, which is, I'm sure that you put it in, when there's all the write up and everything. So
Yeah. Yep.
So if you simply look for my name, Noy Shani, Noyshani, as the surname, and you will find out it will say the consistency coach and hypnotherapist. There's not too many people with the same name, so you'll be able to find me. And we'll put the link as well. And on Instagram, the handle is Noy Shani, just my name together, just like that. And aside from that, I also have a group where I have extra content and extra resources, including a 5-step blueprint to enhance your performance and results using the hidden powers of your mind. So it takes visualization and goal setting to the next level. And that's something that someone can apply like in their life, however much they want, like on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. And it gives people great experience because they're able to feel like it's kind of like, kinesthetic. You're able to feel it, like that you are making progress. You're able to feel some of the results,
Right.
and able to feel good with that. So I'm providing that. So that group is accessible. We'll put a link as well, but it's like it's cat like SU. Sorry, yeah, not SU. CUTT.ly. So Cat Lee. CUTT.ly/consistent mindset free group. So it's a group for consistent mindset for executives and business owners that anybody that hearing this can tap into and join.
Very cool. Yep. Well, Noy, I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy Tuesday. It's Tuesday for you, right? Just as you're starting to get your day started, if I remember correctly. I know we've communicated a little bit, trying to align getting you onto the show. I definitely appreciate you coming on. Before we wrap up, I just want to make sure, is there anything that you wish I would have asked, anything I might have missed that you would like to share with the audience, that in terms of being able to find you, things that typical clients tend to ask, anything like that you'd want to share before we wrap up?
I would say I just probably want to reemphasize like that the being in a certain framework, that you have the support, whether that's a certain community or a certain I'd say community or a certain coaching framework or something like that, in compared to not being. I can no longer do that mistake that I've done like now after what I've realized in the time that I was off that, because you could get results with like trying by your own, but there is a completely different level. One of the things I learned like the hard way, let's say it like that, is that there is an easier, more free flowing and less bang your head in the wall way to do that. So if there's one thing I want to leave people with is like, don't wait to hit rock bottom with stuff, like, because there's always like next level, and you can do great, and also seek how you can do things in a better and more congruent way. And to keep yourself, my advice would be to actively keep yourself in environments like that stretch you, allow you to grow, and also when needed will pull you up. like if something happens, because life happens,
Right.
So actively and ongoingly keep engaging in that. And yeah, then you've got much more chance to not only succeeding, but also being, a happy, more congruent person.
Yep. And I'm going to steal one more question just before we go. When you were talking about the accountant, it sounded like one of the main things that happens there is kind of like that negative self-talk. I wanted to try to pull from you, like, what you recommend in those type of scenarios, or if, you're overly thinking, okay, I might lose this client, I might, miss out on that proposal, what have you. Like, is there something you would recommend that somebody could start putting in place and practice if they're that same type of individual, or is it something where you would really need to assess them to try to get into a little bit deeper?
There's one technique that is super, super simple that would give, I'm really happy to give here because it's really simple. This is something everyone could do, you and I do it, like, whenever I feel like I have like a need. It's to do with every time that you and I, and of course the listeners, like, we've got certain like bad thought or bad emotion or bad feeling or some kind of something that we don't like.
Yep.
What we can do is to roll our eyes up like this. So I hope people could see.
Yep.
Don't strain them. Don't even do this. Like, don't strain your neck. Don't strain your eyes. Don't be like this. Just like that. Roll them up ever so slightly like that. Keep them as long as you need there. Now, what this does, so when you do that, so like when people are asked questions like, what did you have for breakfast last Tuesday? I mean, the heck, you probably can't remember, right? Like, people, when you ask them a question, they typically look up, they try to remember, right?
Yep.
Humans, like, we all do that. Like, you ask me, like, what did you have for breakfast last Tuesday? And my eyes will be like that, right? So our brain, one side is the visual construct and one side is the visual recall, like trying to recall stuff from the past. The other one is to construct images that have not happened. It's like I tell you, imagine the bricks on the wall in green. So you'll have to go like that to one of the sides. You're like, how would, like,
and I did.
To imagine the room in green. Yeah, right. So when we look up, the brain accesses the visual system. And in the visual system, there are no emotions. So by looking up, this is a kind of like a quick, it doesn't fix your entire problem. It's not going to resolve the entire thing. But what it would do, it would reduce the emotion or bad feeling having you, even temporarily. And you can repeat that as and when you want. By looking up, the brain accesses the visual system. And because in the visual system, there are no emotions, then it will calm your mind, and you'll find out people will have to experiment. Like some people will have to hold it there for like 10 seconds, some 30, some couple of seconds. And if it's really intense, keep doing it a couple of times, right? But you will notice that it calms your mind. So it's a very easy thing to do. Do it every time, unless driving or operating machinery. Don't do it when driving. Don't look like that and look like that.
No, I love that I asked for, like a little nugget of something that they could take with them, but I love exactly how you explain that and exactly, what happens when you're going through that process. So very, very cool. Well, Noy, I appreciate you again taking the time to join us on a what I would imagine is very busy Tuesday there for you in the future. But, I think, for those that are listening, definitely go check them out. I'm a firm believer that any sort of personal development, self-development, professional development, I believe any dollar you invest there is going to have a significant return on the back end. And sometimes it's what you need is somebody, like Noy, that is able to try to give maybe a different idea, different perspective, but also that consistency, I would imagine, is a big part of it. And again, I appreciate you joining us. Those listening, definitely go check them out. In the description of the show, I will definitely make sure to have all the ways of being able to connect with them. And again, I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much for having me, Joseph.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You've been listening to the Lava Hot Podcast with Joseph Connell Jr. Do you want to level up your business in 2022? Then visit us at golavahot.com for a free marketing analysis.